people? Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Depthe for a game of The Last Tea Shop. The Last Tea Shop is a solo journaling RPG about a tea shop on the border of the living and the dead. The recently deceased visit for one last hot drink before their long journey into the great beyond. Time is strange here. Days and memories blur. Nobody visited yesterday. You're sure of that. Someone passed last week. You can't recall their face. The fog thins. A figure approaches. You stoke the fire. And over a cup of tea, you chat with the visitor about their life to prepare them for their trip into the lands of the dead. You record their thoughts, fears, dreams, and hopes in your journal for posterity until such a time that the Veiled One comes to visit. This game was beautiful. I had so much fun playing it. This was a really wonderful, powerful, magical experience that I've held in my heart for months. You can find more information about Last Tea Shop at springvillager.itch.io or check the show notes for more information. Depthe is an actual play performer, a designer. You can hear them on Tragedy of the Theologian over on Total Party Kiss, as well as a myriad of other AP productions. You can find links to everything that they are working on in the show notes. A few quick notes before we dive in. First, a special thank you to Chicky Bisky, our newest backer on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting the show, as well as all of the other things that we have going on. Beyond just supporting the show, Patreon backers get access to exclusive Party of One bonus episodes, side series such as Party of One Plus One, which is our special series highlighting returning guests, and sequel episodes, aka my excuse to sit back down with my friends after we've already done an episode, as well as side projects like Party of None, which is our solo game series, and just whatever weird projects I happen to be working on at the moment. You can find more information about all of that at patreon.com/JeffStormer. The other big announcement to make is that that's all, folks. For 2024, at least, we are going on our winter vacation. This episode marks the end of our 2024 season. We will be back in late December with our Christmas episode with Brandon, Leon, Gambetta, and then once again in mid-January with new episodes in 2025. In the meantime, we've got some special feed drops from other shows that we love scheduled to drop on the feed, so stay tuned for that. And of course, once again, as always, thank you for hanging out, meeting cool, interesting people, playing some fun, interesting games. I love that I got to spend another year making this show that I love, that powers me, that fills my heart. And you, the listener, are a really critical part of that. So until January, enjoy. Go check out some backlog episodes that you maybe missed. Check out some feed drops that we've got coming in the next few weeks. And we will talk to you in mid-January.
When fandom is about community, so are we. Whether you're watching blockbuster fantasy like The Lord of the Rings or cozying up with your favorite comic book, the Lorehounds are here as your guides to great stories. Search for the Lorehounds in any podcast feed or head to our website, thelorehounds.com, to find links to all our conversations, whether on air or with listeners on our Discord server. See you this fall for weekly coverage of Dune Prophecy and Silo.
And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited. I'm sitting down with Depthe. Thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really, really giddy about today's recording. This is the most excited I've felt in a good while because this game is so nice and just joyful, and I'm really excited about it. But before we talk about what we're playing this week, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
Yeah. So, hello, my name is Depthe, like the ocean. You can find me on all things via Chaotic Bunny, and I'm actually going to be releasing a Starfinder Space Pirates podcast early next month on Friday nights starting. It'll just be about a group of adventurers who are finding long-lost treasure. Very classic, very Treasure Planet, very Titan AE. That's your jam. Please tune in. I'll be revealing, leading up to the first session, I'll be releasing little session zero snippets with all of my players. So stay tuned for that.
You are speaking my language. The way that I lit up hearing all of this. That's great. I like this. I've said this often, but this is truly one of my favorite parts of the show is when I just get to sit back and go, tell me about cool things that you're making and tell me about the cool art that you're doing. And I just get to be excited about it. It never stops being delightful.
Yeah, and it'll also be my first time like podcast editing, so hopefully I get to your level.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through that.
It's definitely a journey.
All right. So today we are playing The Last Tea Shop, and it is a game about a tea shop. It is a game about a witch who has set up shop. You run a tea shop on the border of the living and the dead. The recently deceased visit for one last hot drink before their long journey into the great beyond. Time is strange here. Days and memories blur. Nobody visited yesterday, you're sure of that. Somebody passed last week, but you can't recall their face. The fog thins. A figure approaches. You stoke the fire. I'm so excited. This is great.
When I first read about this, I was so excited, and everyone I've talked to has been like, "This is absolutely your kind of game." So,
I'm so glad. So talk to me about what has you excited about the game today. Like, what are we bringing to the table? What's the vibe that you're looking forward to? You know, what are we feeling? What's the energy?
well, I love the tea making aspect of it. I recently got into making my own tea. I have my own peppermint plant that I harvested over the summer and dried up, which I'm actually drinking right now for ambiance. And I just love all the properties that tea has brought in over the years. So just kind of this theming is great. And it just feels really comforting. And that's been my shit recently. It's just...
I know exactly what you mean. I have here in my Fraser Crane glass, I've got I'm not usually a tea drinker. I have like a lower tolerance for bitter, and it's harder for me to find teas that I connect with. So I do have here some hot cocoa that I'm trying desperately to cool so that I don't obliterate my tongue in the middle of a recording.
Please be careful.
Eventually, though, I'm going to drink some hot cocoa and my day is going to be made that much better. Yeah, I'm just like, I love the theming of it. I just love a good prompting for a conversation. I love when a game sets up two characters and is just like, these characters have a conversation and see where it goes. I also love the theming of like the blurring between living and dead, and I love when things get a little bit weird and supernatural and reflective in that way. I think it's going to make for a really wonderful, interesting, thought-provoking game experience.
Absolutely. And I probably will cry. This is absolutely the type of game that might make me cry, so...
You know what? I'm not going to say that I won't cry as well. Like, it's on the table. It definitely... It's playing in a space where it might get a little emotional.
I'm prepared for that if you are.
Absolutely, 100%. So let's go through. We have you raised the question just before we got on mic because the way that the game is traditionally played is as a solo journaling game where one player plays the role of the tea shop owner and then kind of journals about their experience with different guests. There is a two-player variant that we are playing today where one of us takes the role of the tea shop owner and the second person plays the various visitors that come. You had raised the question of who wants to play which role, and I said we should talk about this on mic. So let me ask you, is one of these roles more exciting to you than the other?
Oh, I'm going to be a bit of a pain here and say that they both sound really fun, so I genuinely can't decide. I
think I would... now I gotta think about this. Like, I'm trying to decide which one of them I am also more excited about because I am facing the same thing. You know what? I am going to say I think I would like to play the tea shop owner.
All right, let's do it.
Because I think if I am envisioning the flow of play a little bit, especially when we're centering these conversations, I think prompting in character, prompting you with questions and getting your responses feels more satisfying to me than answering questions that are asked. I think is the structure that I'm feeling. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Great. Okay. Well, then we're gonna we'll walk through our tea shop together and make our answers communally, and then we'll learn who is visiting our stall.
Hell yeah.
So we begin by setting up shop. This shop is a quiet place, often cloaked in mist or light rain. There is a special feeling here. Moments stretch and fade, and this is a space for communion and release. We have a few tables to roll on, a few D6 tables. Do you have a dice in front of you?
I do.
Would you mind rolling me 1d6, and then I will also roll a d6?
Absolutely. Got a 6.
All right, so you've got a 6, which brings us to abandoned places. Oh, this is nice. I rolled a 3, which means that our tea shop is located in a lost bell tower.
Oh, I love that.
That's great. I love that. What's the visual detail that comes to your mind? Like what's the detail we want to add to this space?
I'm immediately thinking of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And so I'm just thinking of just old, which is probably already obvious, but probably gargoyles.
Gargoyles is very good. I think I love the visual. These like big, imposing Disney's gargoyle-ass gargoyles. And I want to build on old and say that this is just really kicking things up to 11. This is not a standing bell tower. This is a bell tower. This is like a bell tower, a church, a cathedral. This is the ruins of what was once a bell tower, cathedral, church space, right? Like this is a lot of the maybe this tower is the only like structure that remains, and all around it is, half remnant rooms and bricks on the ground. Like that is so it is ruins with this one single tower standing right in the corner.
Amazing.
I like this. I really like this. Because we are in a lost bell tower, we have some local ingredients available to us in the tea shop. We have some bird's nest fungi that we can use to make some tea. There are a list of teas that we can make in the book, which I find very charming.
So good.
And based on the ingredients that you have on hand, you can make certain ingredients available. So, in addition, we have some affinities.
Yes.
Let me ask you. There are 6 categories, and I'm going to ask you which category you want me to roll a d6 on.
Ooh.
Do you want creatures, objects, phenomena, elements, weave, or temporality?
I really love weave. All of the stuff on there looks really good.
All right, I'm going to roll a d6. I rolled a 5. Illusions is great. Illusions is good. I'm going to have some fun with illusions. That's going to be a fun energy. And I am really drawn to phenomena or temporality. Which jumps out at you?
Let's do with phenomena.
All right. And that is a 3, and that is clouds. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot. This is a great energy. Clouds and illusions is a good combination.
Absolutely.
That's like visions out of the fog is just very good, classic, evocative, sometimes a little creepy magic that I think I'm very excited about.
Can be pretty whimsy too at times.
It can be. Yeah. I think that's great. I think there's a good we've got a good palette of paint in front of us that I'm feeling very excited about. So, now we are going to put together our tea supplies. The way that this works, again, I'm going to have you roll 1d6. I will also roll a d6. We'll do this 3 times to create our list of common ingredients that we have on hand. So I have rolled a 5, which puts us on the second list here.
I rolled a 1.
So we have some ancient seashell available to us. Let's see, our next item is another 5.
I rolled another 6.
We have some chamomile,
Very good.
the most classic of tea ingredients. And
I rolled a 3.
we have some bright gumdrop. So every time we brew a pot of tea, we will use up one supply. We have 3 supply on hand. These are the ingredients available to us. There are a variety of teas that we can make using some of these items. Based on the ingredients that we have, we can choose one of these teas to kind of also give a character, like a prompt to our conversation. And then over the course of play, some guests who stop by the tea shop may drop off gifts. They may request certain things, or we can at one point forage for a local ingredient and gather up some more of a specific thing. So with all of that said, I believe it is time to meet our first visitor. Once you knew many routes between the lands of the living and the dead. Nowadays, your memory is hazy and that knowledge has slipped away. You recall just 2 paths. We have prepared real-world tea or cocoa for ourselves, and now we establish our starting path. Are you more interested in the phrases dice trail or lantern path?
Probably lantern path.
Okay. So we will stick with the lantern path until we are indicated to change paths. The way that this works is we have a d6 in front of us. I will have you roll a d6. That will tell us how many days have passed since the previous visitor came to visit. It will also tell us who our next visitor is and a little bit about what their personality is like. And then we will start to understand or come to or build the conversation that we're going to have. We'll chat in character for a few minutes, and then when the conversation is wrapping up, we will move to our next visitor. So why don't you roll me a d6 and tell me tell me what you roll, and we'll find out what our first visitor is.
All right, I rolled another 6.
All right, that means that 6 days have passed since our previous visitor has appeared at the tea shop, and we are visited by a pilgrim. A pilgrim will switch our path for the next visitor, so we will switch over to the dice path. Now we'll find out what the weather is like.
You
I
don't
love
mind
this.
me
I love
asking, what is
Yes.
a pilgrim? I'm not very familiar with the term.
A pilgrim is somebody like making a trek. It is often like it has a like religious connotation, but we don't need to go that route. But it is somebody like making a trek for a specific purpose.
Okay.
It is somebody like on a quest, a travel. This is somebody traveling with a mission, for lack of a better way to put it.
All right.
And let's see what the weather is like. I will roll us 2d6. 3 and 3. There is a soft indigo drizzle in the air, sort of a gentle sadness. Our pilgrim, our traveler, is marked with a gentle sadness, and there is a soft indigo drizzle in the air. And the final thing, we've already noted that we'll switch paths for our next visitor. So, just to recap everything, set the scene a little bit. It is drizzling outside. There is sort of an indigo haze in the sky. Our tea shop owner is quietly firing up the water, bringing things to a boil, mixing in ingredients, letting them steep. And someone from afar, someone traveling a great distance with a purpose, with a mission, has arrived, marked by a gentle sadness. I will consult our recipes and prepare a tea that I have supplies for. Then I will give you a question prompt, and then we will just chat for a while. So let me look at our tea. I love that part of this game is looking at an actual list of teas. What a good,
really good.
What a good game mechanic. Let's see. What do I have? I have fungi, I have seashells, I have chamomile, and I have gumdrop.
They're so nice and funky too. Like, I really love the names of some of them.
Are very good. We've got Memory Draft. We've got Comforting Brew.
Celestial Tea is one of my favorites. That sounds.
Celestial Tea is very good. Let's see what I can make. Of the options that I can make, I can make rainbow tea and fill the room with fascinating lights and colors. I can make distance tea, drink to calm a difficult memory. Comforting brew. Memory draft or gumboot tea. I think I am going to, of these prompts and thinking about this traveler, I think with a little bit of magic, I think I am going to use up my ancient seashell and make a no, actually I'm going to use my chamomile and I'm going to make a comforting brew to create a safe space and ease what ails you. I think that feels right. That's good. That's a good vibe for all of the things that we're dealing with. So you come into this space, like tell me a little bit about, give me a little bit about like what pops into your head for this character, this traveler, as they arrive at this ruined, mostly leveled and washed away remnants of an old building with a single bell tower sort of looming on the horizon as this soft rain trickles down and a little bit of gentle fog just kind of rolls almost seemingly from the bell tower out into the immediate area surrounding.
Yeah, so so this traveler comes walking from the path, their figure slowly coming into focus, and they wear very well-worn clothes. Their shoes are worn down past the tread, pants having patched up holes, a jacket that doesn't look very warm, but they hold it close to themselves, and their hair is tied back away from their face, but it doesn't look like it's had very much upkeep. They've just let it grow out, and they're quite young, look to be only in their 20s, and they walk with a stride that is tired and a little downtrodden as they just have their arms crossed, shoulders up, a frown in their features.
You walk into this, you walk towards this bell tower, and like the kind of warming, calming scent of chamomile tea like fills the air, almost carried on this fog a little bit. And as you come towards the bell tower, you see, I think it is set up around the doorway of this bell tower. I think it kind of blends inside, like there's a dining, almost a dining area inside. The maybe like the space where you would order is half outside of the bell tower, with sort of the first floor inside built up as kind of a space to sit. And our tea shop owner, I keep saying witch, and I realize I'm not actually sure if it specifies that we are a witch in the game. I think it does, but I have envisioned a witch.
Listen, she can be both.
She can be both. I think witch feels right. I think I love a good flowing hooded robe is the thing. I think it is a hooded cape tied right at the base of the neck. Very old, tattered at places. Imagine like a Red Riding Hood cape that is old and black and a little tattered.
Yes.
With very a lot of pouches underneath. The outfit underneath is like a tunic that is marked by a great number of pouches and vials and containers. It seems a great deal like where our tea shop owner... It seems a lot like our tea shop owner doesn't necessarily have a back pantry area, and just various points on her person are the back pantry area. So it seems like any ingredient that she might want to add into this tea is currently in a bottle somewhere on her person. There's a slight jingling as she walks around, and I think that like as you arrive, there is already a mug, like a warm old ceramic mug waiting for you with tea inside.
I think, yeah, they will walk forward and take a seat, warm their hands from the cup.
She kind of like, I think, doesn't immediately turn to face you, right? Like, is working on a lot of things, has a few different pots and kettles all kind of getting ready to boil at once, and is kind of sprinkling in additives to various pots and various kettles before kind of turning over to you. Have you taken a drink yet? Is it to your liking?
Yes, it's very warm. It's very nice.
It always is. I'm good at my job.
Yes, you do this often? Make tea for strangers?
I mean, it is the business model. And I think, like, her face is blank enough that you cannot quite tell if she means it as a joke or not, right? Like, her demeanor is very, like, she will turn back and address you directly, but it is in the middle of doing things, and she's constantly, like, turning away in what, if she were on a microphone, would be very bad microphone etiquette. To be clear, that is a character decision and not Jeff just intrinsically turning away from the microphone, going like, it is the business model. And like, there's this warmth in her voice of you're pretty sure that there is a joke here, but also like her body language is not indicating that one way or the other.
All right. Yeah, she just begins drinking her tea. And yeah.
Traveled from far?
Well, a little, yes. Traveled from where I grew up. Searching for home.
Sometimes you gotta leave home to find home.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I wish I did.
You and me both, eventually. And I think this is the first moment that she fully stops and like turns back to you, already having like a second glass in her hand. This one being ancient is the word that I would use. This glass looks like finely carved, almost stone or like or pearl or something that is ancient and brittle, but you can see the wear on it. You can see the incredible use that this glass has, or this teacup has had on it. You can see the years and years of use and wear and love and almost exhaustion that exists on this teacup. She turns back. Maybe if we keep looking and keep walking, maybe we'll both find the place that's supposed to be home. In the meantime, and she raises a glass for a toast, let's do our best to enjoy the spaces that we're at.
Yeah. Yes, that sounds very good.
And I think leans forward a little bit, and the fog kind of starts to, I think, like, even before you kind of realize that you're at a seat inside this sort of seating dining area in the inside of this bell tower, you can see the bell all over your head, sort of just perfectly still. And the fog from outside starts to roll in a little bit. She's suddenly seated in front of you in a chair. You don't quite see her pull the chair. You're not sure where the chair came from, but she's seated in front of you in a chair. So along those lines, let me ask you a question, traveler.
Of course.
What's the best thing that you've seen so far? You've come a long way. You've walked a lot. You've taken a lot of steps. What's the best thing that you've seen on your walk so far?
Wow, the best thing. I've seen a lot.
You and me both.
She takes a moment to think, fiddling with her cup as she just stares into this tea, looking at the reflections that ripple in the liquid. I think the best thing that I saw was top this mountain trail, and at the peak there's this gorgeous view, the valleys, the trees, the sun setting. But it wasn't the view that was the best thing. It was these two people that were traveling together, and they had this expansive view to look at, but instead they just talked to each other and looked at each other and enjoyed their presence.
And you see for a moment, strolling the stair, like following the fog as it rolls up the spiral staircase of this bell tower, is these two people. You can't quite make out what they're saying. It's in that way that sometimes you hear someone in a dream and they're not saying words, or like almost as if when you try to read something in a dream and it's just words that don't quite map to reality. You're hearing this, you're seeing this, but you're just seeing them walk this staircase, chatting with each other, and the more you watch, the further the staircase rises and rises and rises, seemingly endlessly, and they just keep one step after another climbing higher and higher, seemingly perfectly content to never reach the top and never reach the bell of this tower. Just walking and talking, exactly like you remember from the peak of that mountain. And our tea shop owner is sitting next to you, just staring. What do you think they're talking about?
Everything, nothing, hopes and dreams, probably.
And she leans forward just barely and points with her pinky. That one's got a rock in his shoe. And he's really irritated. And he doesn't want to slow down. And as she is describing this, you are seeing, like, there's the slightest limp, right? There's the slightest, like, every other step, every step with his right foot, there's, like, the slightest gingerly, like lifting the foot up, and, like, he's keeping speed, but there's that slight sense of, like, I don't want to put full pressure down on this one spot on my foot. And so, like, you kind of see part of every step is sort of like shifting the body weight a little bit. And she's like, and he's trying to tell a story, but he's also trying to hide the fact that this rock is in his shoe. It's honestly very cute, and I'm enjoying this a great deal.
Yeah, she They just look at this couple.
You just sit and watch, and I think let me ask you this: has that eased a difficult memory of this pilgrim's travel?
In a way, it has. She wasn't able to find a home, but knowing that there are other people that were able to is comforting to her. Knowing that it's there for people.
Mm-hmm. And I think they walk off. We see this couple walk off into the fog, off somewhere else far in the world, and our tea is finished. I bid the visitor farewell. I think that you take a sip of the last drop of tea, and suddenly this spacious dining area, all of these chairs are suddenly gone, and you are standing outside in the drizzling rain, and there is this tiny stand, and our tea shop owner is just right back to spinning 14 plates all at once, turns back, gives you a nod of, if you find your way back here on the journey, swing by and we'll have another glass.
I would love to. It was very good. Thank you.
Happy travels. And as you start to walk off, the final activity of a given interaction is we talk a little bit about their fate, and I think I know what the detail I want to throw in is. Sorry, I misread that. That's the visitor's state upon leaving the stall, not fate. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Like, then we end their story, and I'm like, that feels weird. That's a discord. Nope. That's reading comprehension on my part.
It happens to the best of us.
So the one final detail I do want to throw out is, as this traveler walks, I think that you kind of realize as you take a step that, like, your shoes are newly cushioned, like they are as though padded by the finest like memory foam. Like, there is just a sponginess and a support to your step that was not there when you first came in.
Yeah,
and then we watch our pilgrim. Sorry, good.
No, I'm just as they leave with this new support and comfort, their posture is more relaxed as they walk. Their arms are not crossed. They are not huddling from the cold. They are just walking with renewed vigor.
All right, and so now we roll us another d6, and we'll find out who our next visitor is.
1.
All right, we jump one space down the dice trail, and we come to the soldier. We have here a soldier. We add 2 to the result of our next day roll. Let me find out what our atmosphere and emotion are. I rolled a 5 and a 2. There are close sea green clouds in the air. The air is this like greenish gray that is bright but cloudy. It is cold more than anything, and it is humid. It's that cold humidity where you feel wet, but even without the comfort of the heat. You know what I mean? Like, you're still cold, but there's also this moisture in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotion in the air is one of regret. So let me look at my T option. So describe to us what it looks like as this visitor arrives, as I review my T options and decide what I want to spin up.
Yeah, so the person walking up has a confidence in their stride, shoulders relaxed and back. Chin is up. Their hair is long and curly, but tied back in a braid. But you can see some of the baby hair starting to come away from the humidity. And they walk with a trained posture and vigilant eyes, taking in every detail, every movement that happens as they enter the store. Or the shop, the tea shop.
Are they armed?
They are, but they respectfully put away their weapons at the door before they enter.
I think there is even a moment where, as they like go to put away their weapon, they find it's already gone and like on the wall, and with like a very stoic reaction, like stopping what she's doing to spin around, like still like no glass or anything in hand, just there are no weapons. You understand.
Of course, ma'am. Completely understandable.
Raises up her hands in a welcoming gesture. I appreciate your cooperation. What can I get for you today?
I'll just have some tea if that's all right.
Yes, I think we can spin something up for you. I know exactly the tea to make for you. It is a local specialty. And I think as she's saying this, she's like surveying this soldier up and down. I think a memory draft is exactly what today's weather calls for. He uses a local ingredient. He uses some bird's nest fungi and she gestures, and she just gestures towards the bell just in time for the bell to like ominously ring a little bit. He uses some local bird's nest fungi. It's wonderful. It's aromatic. It's savory. It's lovely. Let me pour you a glass. And I think, like, again, spins around, tapping 3 different kettles, giving one a stir, grabbing one, immediately putting it back down, grabbing a couple rags, picking it up, and just shaking one. Just giving it a shake. Grabs the third one, pours a glass, and pours a glass into a handleless clay cup. So very like goblet-ish, and slides it across this counter towards you.
Thank you very much. And picks it up and will take a drink. Kind of a bit too quickly, burns himself a little bit, but tries to cover it up.
And I think smiles to herself. I have the same reaction. I have the same reaction most times. Once you have the glass in front of you, you want to dive into it. Understandable. It's an understandable moment. And I think starts to walk over, eyes you very closely. But I think perhaps also your speed to drink, your eagerness to get it over with. Where are you coming from? What are you walking away from? Leans her head back and narrows her eyes. Teacup, the same very old teacup suddenly in hand, takes a very kind of like knowing sip.
I think I'm walking away from everything I know. Battle was all I ever knew, and it's all I ever did.
It's an exhausting life.
That it is. I never did anything else. Just fight, train people how to fight, be a mentor.
And now that you're walking away, I imagine Not that I've ever fought myself, and I think she smiles. Her eyes glint. Her eyes glint, and we, the viewers, see them flash red, right? Like, there's a moment, and she's like, not that I've ever had to fight myself. There's really no need. But, I imagine now that you're on the other side of it, you're looking around at a world where you're looking to do something different. It's hard to visualize how to move forward without that.
Indeed, it's a little scary. When you're doing something for so long, you forget everything else. Don't know how to do anything else.
And I think it takes another sip. That fog starts to roll in. Well, I mean, forgive the perhaps rudimentary question, but I find sometimes we get so preoccupied with the deeper questions we don't really stop and ask the basic ones. And so let me ask you this. When the fog is billowing in and around you there are flashes, moments in time, moments in life, memories coming to life in the fog. What do you want to do? What do you enjoy doing? What brings you joy?
Well, at first I thought fighting made me happy. And I suppose it did. But when I was a youngin', I loved playing in the dirt. Sounds so silly saying it out loud, but it was fun. It was simple.
I think shrugs a little bit. You'll get no judgment from me, and I think she shrugs and says, "You'll get no judgment from me. Playing with old dried leaves has been my career for the past. Let's leave out how long it's been."
Yes, well, I would never be so rude to ask for your age.
See, this is why I think you'll be okay. What was it in the dirt? What was the one thing that you did? And I think that you can start to see it's behind her back, I think. And I think whether or not, let me ask you this, because I think this is a question for your consideration. Mm-hmm. Does our soldier notice when our tea shop owner shifts her body ever so slightly to keep the image of you as a young person playing in the dirt as she asks the question, what about it is the activity that brought you the most joy? You appear in the fog. This younger version of you appears in the fog. And do you notice that the tea shop owner ever so slightly shifts her body to make sure that that moment is out of her view, that she keeps her back to that moment as to not peer on it?
In any other situation, absolutely. But talking about such sentimental memories that he hasn't thought of in a very long time and seeing it, he doesn't notice. For the first time in a very long time, he doesn't notice something. And just for clarification, the shopkeeper asked what it was about the dirt, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the activity that brought you that joy?
He chuckles a little. He grows a little abashed, but speaks nonetheless. Well, I used to watch these animals bury this seeds and stuff, and I used to follow suit. I thought it looked so fun, and then summer would come and playing around in the dirt just had a reward. There'd be these sprouts coming up out of the ground just from me digging a hole and putting a seed down there because I thought it looked fun.
We put something in, we get something out. It is perhaps the first magic that we experience. And I think, like, walks off, puts a hand on your shoulder, like, taps it once or twice, says, "You'll figure it out." And walks off, allows you in privacy for just a moment, this moment of watching your younger self, dig a little hole, take a seed, gently place it in, pat it down, put just a little water on top, and there is a crow, like, directly next to you doing something very similar, and the two of you are both just tending the soil together, and she goes off, she's checking her pots and kettles to leave you to this moment. Talk to me about, like, what your reaction is at this instant.
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat all of that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. She places a hand on your shoulder and she says, "You'll figure it out." Walks off and starts tending to her kettles and pots. And you are left for just a moment before you take that last sip of tea in this foggy space, watching your younger self plant a seed next to, like, a crow that is kind of doing something similar, and you're taking all of the steps of tending it. You're patting it down, you're putting a little water on top. What is your body language? What is your reaction in this moment before you take that final sip of tea?
It's whimsical regret. It's looking at himself, seeing this passion that he had as a kid, and doing things so simple, so peacefully. And his body kind of relaxes as he realizes that towards the end of his life, the thing that he regretted the most was not making more time to do things that he genuinely loved and not what he thought he loved.
And I think you take that last sip of tea, and if I may describe a moment.
Absolutely.
A big moment. You take that last sip of tea, you go to collect a sword, like the sword that had ended up on the wall. You go to collect it, and for a moment you see it, and it is rusted, and it is cracked, and it is chipped. And you pause, and we see our soldier walk off, and as they walk, vines and bark start to crawl up their leg a little bit, and a crow starts to circle overhead. And as it reaches, as the bark reaches your chest, you stretch, you feel the tension in the back of your shoulders, and you stretch out, and the bark runs down, and the last thing that we see of this traveler is an old tree planted in a field of dirt many years ago that is now home to a family of crows that simply, like, dart around it and gather and forage and nest in this space. And she just looks out. Yeah, they figured it out. They'll be all right.
Oh, that one got me a little bit.
The second that you said the end of his life, I was like, I know what I gotta do. I know what I gotta hit. I felt really good. It's like, it's one of those. It is. I mean, I love role playing games. Is the thing. I love the games that we play with friends, and, like, it's those little moments where you catch a turn of phrase, and you're like, I've got to. This is the thing I have to build on. It's just one of the all-time great. It's what this art form is to me in a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh, first tears of the game.
We got there. We knew we were gonna get there. We knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, let's do one more. Let's do one more scene, and then we will skip ahead in the game a little bit to the ending beat of the game, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, if you want to give us a D6 roll, and you're going to add 2 to this result.
All right, 7.
7, so that we are on day 7. This brings us to day 14. We have a sage. Ooh, a sage is going to give us a random ingredient.
Ooh. All right.
I might ask you, here's what I'm going to ask you. Don't tell me what it is until it comes up in play.
All right.
Roll me a rare ingredient off of the ingredient list to know what your sage has on their person.
All right.
I will roll us some weather. Oh, I missed it.
What was the roll again that we got? Like the person?
It was a sage.
Sage.
Like a scholar, wise person. And we've got a 3. I'm going to re-roll this because we've already had this weather result. See, this is okay. I'm glad I re-rolled because this is interesting. I want to see where this goes a little bit. Ooh, and I'm going to pull on a thread because there's a phrase here. There's a word here that I'm going to pull on specifically. We have a bruised purple fog in the air. And the mood is, the emotion is pained. This is a pained moment, and the fog is bruised and purple. And you know what? All right, I know exactly what I'm gonna set the scene a little bit.
Go for it.
Talk to me. I'm going to ask you to introduce your sage in a moment, but like the thing that is notable is our tea shop owner. The tea shop is much sparser today than it has been in our previous 2 scenes. Like there is a single almost travel kettle, right? Like there is a single travel pot on, we can go a little anachronistic. There's a joy in that. On a hot plate. There is a single travel kettle boiling. All of the other, we've seen her running around and shaking things and stirring things. All of those kettles and pots are gone. There's only one single travel kettle waiting. All of the chairs and things are gone, and there's really just one single chair left over. One single pot, one single tea, all waiting for our next visitor to arrive.
All right. I think the next person who walks up is... Ooh, I might need a moment.
Yeah.
All right. I think the person that walks up is a woman who a little similar to the first customer, worn down clothes, but not as raggedy and not as travel worn. It's more worn as in there's stains, there's wrinkles.
Sure.
It's very much like she just hasn't had time for her own upkeep. Her hair is up in a very messy bun. She has bags under her eyes. And she not only looks exhausted, but there is a pain behind her eyes in this as well as she walks in.
And I think as you walk in, you see the tea shop owner steeping this one small kettle, holding in her hands a like a paper cup or like a travel cup, very specifically, not the same ancient brittle teacup that she's drank out of in our previous scenes. This is straight up a travel cup with a little cap on top. And is just kind of like looking around, looks at you, and the two of you just share, like, there's a silent moment. And I think she just mutters, "You good?"
I will be. Yeah. I just need to make it to the next day.
Ain't that the truth? Goes and like pours a glass into a mug. Goes and pours the one remaining tea into the mug. Which I should look at what my tea options are. Yeah, I think pours a. You know what? It's pours a tea, pours it, refills her glass, takes a drink. It's just pretty basic gumboot tea. Nothing too special in it, but it's what we haven't packed up yet.
Are you traveling somewhere?
Yeah, I think that come this time tomorrow, I'm gonna be heading off to the next stop down the road.
Yeah.
But that's enough about me. What's on your mind?
Wow, what isn't on my mind? I'm thinking about so many things.
It makes two of us.
I just didn't expect to leave so much behind, I guess.
I don't think any of us quite understand how much we're going to leave behind until we start to do it ourselves. You pack up what you can, you take what you can with you, and in an instant she is wearing like an oversized backpack, like a real. The only way I can describe it is like a tourist ass backpack.
Oh, like those huge like backpacking, like they're like twice the size.
Big square one on her back. It's just like our shoulders can only hold so much.
Ain't that the truth?
Let me ask you this. There's got to be at least a couple things you're happy to be leaving behind.
Oh, yes. The exhaustion, doing the million things at once, having to make sure that everything is good and being an ear for everyone.
It's exhausting. It
is.
And you got to find just the right thing to say so that you don't make it too much about you, but it stays about them. But like, there's a little bit of you in it. It's just, people don't appreciate the work that goes into it.
Definitely not, but that's just what being a mum is, I suppose.
I suppose it is unglamorous work, but somebody's got to do it.
Exactly.
You think you did a good job?
Gosh, I want to hope so. I would like to believe so. I think I deserve that.
I'd say you're probably underselling your contributions. Somebody that. And I think I think Lee kind of like throws an elbow onto your shoulder a little bit, like in a very kind of casual way, or her travel cup in her other hand is like somebody who carries that much worry under her eyes probably did a lot better job than I hope so. and like lightly kind of like slaps your arm a little bit in a very teasing manner. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about just doing the best that we can do while we're here. You make a difference while you can. You fuck up a couple times. I mean, let's be real.
You fuck up a lot of times.
I wasn't gonna say it, but God, we fuck up more than. But you know what? I mean, we got a couple things right along the way too.
Yeah.
And it's easier for us to forget about the stuff that we do that we get right along the way, I find.
We do.
And I think she is now like leaning on the window of this bell tower, just like staring at this large, like blooming tree outside. Once in a while, we really hit it, you know?
Yeah.
It's unglamorous work, but it's good while it lasts.
It's great while it lasts. I've never had so much heartbreak, but I've also just never had so much love.
And I think like this is maybe the first time we've really seen the tea shop owner smiling. Like and she's just getting warmer and warmer. Periodically almost falling backwards or forwards as this gigantic backpack is still like affecting her movement, but like just like chatting like in talking about this, and I think like there's a long period where we're just talking about nothing, and I think there's even a moment where we are walking the steps, right? We're just walking the steps, telling stories about people that have come and passed, and telling stories about parenting, and just chatting about nothing and everything. And we reach the top, like just as we crest the floor where the bell would be. It is as though you were walking back out of the door of the bell tower onto the ground, and that purple fog has mellowed out a little bit and the air is a little calmer. It's good to get a load off the shoulders. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It just keeps building when you're someone that everyone leans on. It's nice to lean on someone else every once in a while.
We don't do it enough. So it's nice to savor it while we can.
Yes.
All right, well, and crumples her paper cup, sprinkles it into seed, drops it along the grass. I guess I gotta let you on your way.
I'm very busy, so I do have to get going. But thank you. This was nice.
Thank you. This was what I needed before. Well, this was what I needed.
Me as well. And I would like to think that as they walked and had these conversations, that her hair doesn't become as messy and unkempt. She redoes it into a nice ponytail. The clothes lose a little bit of their wrinkle and the humidity, evening out. She's still got the stains and still has the bags, but there is a relief in... Hang on. It's getting me. Hang on, give me a second.
Yeah, of course.
There is a relief in being heard instead of being the one listening.
And the gumboot tea has achieved its effect of warming the soul. And I will ask you to describe one final character. What does the Veiled One look like?
Oh, God.
As we have ended our story, traditionally we would play through until we reach day 24 or later. We would continue to roll. But since we're ending our game here for now, we end our game when the veiled one arrives, and then we ask and answer the final question of what happens next.
Yeah. I think approaching at a very slow pace, being supported by a cane, is this just an elderly person. Their clothes are very nice and tailored to fit well. Their stride, while a little on the weak side, is relaxed, peaceful, and they, before even entering the door at this point, they do just shout a very jovial, "Hello there!"
I think, like, standing perfectly still, like, hands in pockets, giant backpack on her back, just, "You're early."
Well, I didn't want to be late, now did I? Kind of with
Have I ever told you I hate how chipper you are?
Maybe once or twice, you know. With this old age, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
And I think, like, smiling and that, like, just smiling and laughing, and she, like, you are the most annoying being that I have encountered in all of my travels. It is great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you as well, friend. You'll get used to me one day.
So where's the next stop? And I think our final thing is the two of them, like, walking off together, leaving this bell tower abandoned. We see the briefest shot as they walk off into the horizon of the tea shop owner fully falling over from the weight of the backpack and scrambling to her feet. And we watch them walk off, and that is game.
Yay!
I'm so blown away. I'm just... Damn. Debrief, how are we feeling?
Amazing. That was such a fun game. Oh my god. That was really good.
I'm so happy. I'm just, like, truly, like, what was your favorite part?
Oh, definitely the soldier. I didn't expect to like it because I was really kind of racking my brain for that one, but I
wasn't. Here's the thing. I really wasn't sure where that was going to go, especially, like, the T was, like, was, like, vividly remember something, and I was kind of, like, in my head, like, this could go a few ways depending on if the soldier is more antagonistic or more, like, contemplative. But we ended in a space that was just beautiful.
Yeah, I also didn't know where it was going. I was pulling everything out of my ass.
That's games.
That's
games,
roleplay, baby.
Like, living the, like, and so truly, like, that, and I think that to me was the purest sense of, like, what makes this game shine is that feeling of we don't really have a clear idea of what we want this conversation to be, what we want this memory to feel like, and just sort of feeling around until you find that one piece that just is irresistible, and then just going, all right, I'm going to pull on this thread as far as I can.
I genuinely love it. As someone who, because sometimes I can really just draw such a huge blank when it comes to roleplay and ideas, but the prompts gave me, like, enough information to be like, okay, I can work with this. I can think of something, but not detailed enough that it felt like I had no choice but to go a certain route. So it was...
I was a shout out moment, a stars moment that I want to like point to is you revealing that, like, the pained sage was a mother reflecting on, like, her life of parenthood. Chef's kiss. There was this tiny moment where I was absolutely floored because, like, you know, and it's what you're saying of, like, the prompts give you just enough to kind of go, okay, I'm going to go in a direction. when I read those prompts, had gone in such a different direction that when you revealed that that's what we were playing in, it completely caught me off guard in the best possible way.
Yeah, when I was like thinking about it, because it was like a sage, it was like a wise person or a scholar, and I did consider going the scholar route and having someone be greedy in their education, but then I was also thinking like, who's the wisest person you know? And I'm just thinking about like, so many people go to their parents for advice, or very specifically go to their mums for advice. And I'm like, well, yeah. And I was just like, I'm just going to do something weird with it and hope it works out.
Beautiful. Wonderful. I loved it so much. That was amazing. I was so happy. Thank you so much for playing this with me. I am overjoyed.
I love this game. I will probably be playing this so many times. It was a joy.
Honestly, same. I'm very, very delighted by this game. Thank you again for joining me. This is great. Before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Yes, absolutely. So, you can find me on all things via Chaotic Bunny. It doesn't change. So if you're on a site and you search up Chaotic Bunny, if I'm on it, you'll find me. If not, then I'm not on that. Try something else.
Valid. A good approach.
Yeah.
Good branding.
Yeah. I was very lucky.
Again.
I didn't realize that Chaotic Bunny was such a rare username, so...
Once you land on something where you're like, no, there's no other, it's available on all the things, you gotta seize it. You've got to just latch onto it.
Truly.
It's the right approach.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. This has been a joy. And for now, I'm going to throw it over. I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, Bass Me. And thanks again to Depthe for coming on the show. That game, wow. That game was beautiful. I had such a wonderful experience there. Like, it just really swept me away. Like, it really kind of knocked me off my feet. And I was so giddy with the entire experience. I can't even really put it into words. Be sure to head to the show notes for links to everything that Depthe is working on. Be sure to head to springvillager.itch.io to pick up your own copy of Last Tea Shop. And be sure to follow Depthe on social media at Chaotic Bonnie. You can also find us on pretty much whichever social media you prefer, at Party of One Pod or Jeff Stormer, depending. And if you enjoy the show and you want to support it, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.